we're live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fandalorian Club here on Apocalypse Movies as we are wrapping up this season of Fando with the final episode of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 7, In the Name of Honor. We'll be discussing it with full spoilers today, as I'm sure you all are aware already. Thank you to everyone who's watching live. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Make sure you chatting up with all your thoughts and everything. This one's got a lot to talk about, so we'd love to hear everything that you guys have as far as opinions go. We're going to be diving into as much as we possibly can with this episode and kind of our overall thoughts on the season, maybe where it goes next towards the end of the episode. And with me doing that, as always, I have Mr. Gio Ramos. I have Brian Avalosino. Gio, how you doing today, my man?
I'm good. I went for a run. It was my first run in weeks. I decided to do 5 miles, and my legs are killing me. But mentally, I feel way much better. So Get out there, guys. Those of you who are disappointed about Book of Boba Fett, go outside, do a walk, a jog, something. You'll feel better when you get back. Not saying I'm disappointed, but yeah.
Good for you, man. And Brian, how you doing? You hanging in there?
Yeah, ready to wrap this thing up and see how everyone thought.
Move on to Kenobi.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, RD. What is an exercise?
All right. So, look, there's obviously a lot to talk about with this episode. Last week was quite, the thrill ride of an episode that we got into, but this one kind of, has a little bit more to discuss just because it's a wrap up. A lot more did happen as far as character moments and story moments with the future of Star Wars television, stuff like that. But let's just quickly kind of our initial reaction to the episode. Nothing too much into detail because we're going to try to get into everything that we can. I'll start. I'll just say that I didn't absolutely love it like I was hoping I would. There's a lot of things I liked in it, but as an episode, I didn't love it as much as I was hoping. There's some really cool things to discuss and really cool things that they did, but I don't think it came together as best as it probably could have. But I do think that it wrapped up what it needed to, and it wrapped up in the way they were kind of hoping for, as messy as it may have been. But it was still a satisfying ending. It wasn't like the worst episode of the season, in my opinion. It wasn't something that I was totally crushed over. I just didn't absolutely love it, but I think it was a good enough ending to be satisfied with the overall story of Boba Fett. Gio, what about you?
Yeah, if I had to reference Star Wars films, this one wasn't on the level of, say, an Empire Strikes Back, but for me, it was on the level of like a Return of the Jedi, where there's things in there that I love, things that I do love, and I can't wait to talk about in this episode. But there are certain things that happened that didn't carry as much weight or give the kind of impact that maybe Robert Rodriguez was hoping. At least for myself, like I could remember watching a part in the episode and thinking, cool, but the other side of me wanted to be like, yeah, but it was not there, But yeah, to sum it up, it was good. It has its flaws, but it's good.
And Brian?
Yeah. I mean, I had fun with the show. Kind of stopped taking it too seriously after episode 2-ish. So I just kind of went along with the ride. And am I glad that I didn't wait till midnight to watch it and then lose out on hours of sleep? Yeah. Wake up.
Are you calling me out, Brian? Are you calling me out?
Not calling you out, but I seriously debated, after seeing so many people be like, I'm going to stay up and watch it, I was like, should I? Crap. Because what I do is I go to sleep normal and then just wake up 20 minutes earlier. And I debated it, but something just told me nah, just do your normal thing. And I'm kind of glad I did. But all in all, it was good. I had fun with it.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into this because, there's quite a bit to talk about with this episode as far as certain character moments and stuff like that. Gio, I'm gonna shoot it to you first, man. We're gonna go with this a little bit different today. Is there something that really has been like that you've really wanted to talk about over the last day, or whenever you first saw the episode? The one thing that kind of stands out the most in the episode, you're like, all right, we need to get into this right now.
Other than no Danny Trejo with a machete, fortunately. How about Boba Fett and Din Djarin fighting together? It felt like an army of two. Seriously,
Mhm.
like the two of them with their blasters and just holding it down.
Yeah.
It's just for whatever, however you feel about the episode, seeing them two in the jetpacks and just fighting together, and then the moments of Boba saying, "Oh, you still believe in that stuff?" And he goes, 100%. And he goes, "Good for you," or something like that. Those moments for me kind of made the episode worth it, in my opinion. Just seeing certain characters interact, and in this case, the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. So, did you
No,
guys? Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That was the moment out of I think the episode. There were a few moments where I was like I kind of like did that like that fist bump, like yes. And this was by far the biggest like reaction I got, just to see them together, finally, kind of like fighting together, because we didn't get to see that in Boba's episode of Mando season 2 because they were separated and they were kind of doing their own thing. And then in the finale, Boba disappeared, and he left for good reason. So this was the first time that we really got to see them together, kind of doing their own thing as Mandalorians, both the jetpacks, like you mentioned, but both very much in their own styles. Knee rockets are still as cool as I ever thought they would be.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that moment where he shoots the gun on one hand and he shoots the knee rocket on the other. It's just like, that's like the style that you want for a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were wrecking shop. Like it's that, that buddy cop thing, right? Where you want to see them in tandem fighting together with their pistols or their blasters in this in this situation. Shooting this way, then all of a sudden they switch, but they do it in a really cool way, and they're shooting this way. Or when they're shooting one guy off the roof 10 dozen times when he died 10 seconds ago, like,
they kept shooting as he fell down.
Yeah, like they just kept shooting him. It was like, dude, he died like 20 seconds ago. Like, come on. But no, it was very cool. It was very, very cool. When you see Mando in this series, you got to think at some point we're going to see something like that. I like kind of how it was set up, right? The mayor's henchman, I always forget this dude's name. But he went out there and he did his little talk, right? And Boba Fett set him up, and which was cool. He was like, he's reading this little thing off a tablet and the surrender card, and he says, "I'm giving you nothing." And he totally sets him up, and before he gets shot, you can see the Mandos flying out from behind him and wrecking shop on all the pikes there. So very cool action scene. What you expect when you get these two in a series. You expect to see Mandalorian action, and I think it lived up to it for sure.
Yeah, I love a good Mando fight. Like, I mean, what are some of the best things that we've seen when all the Mandalorians were fighting against, oh my god, what was it in the first one when they were all fleeing? Oh, the Empire, duh. And then what else? How many times has Mando's fought together?
Well, we saw so we saw them in episode.
Not Chakasta knew, but what is the chick's name that they fought in the bar? Boba and the girl.
Oh, you're talking about the wrestler's character, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Why am I forgetting her name?
It's so it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, but yeah, no.
Help us in the chat. Help us.
Yeah, whoever wants to. That's
Oscar
it.
Reeves.
Oscar Reeves. Yeah.
John, I beat you to it. I didn't read your comment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anytime someone that says they're Mandalorian does anything fighty, you're just kind of like, okay, this is what I'm here for. So, yeah, love me some jetpack shooting, all that fun stuff.
Okay, sorry, I had a little brain fart there, guys.
Yeah, I was like,
I thought someone else had to go. My bad.
reset.
My bad. Yeah, we're gonna restart this, guys. We're gonna go back online.
Okay.
Yeah. So look, I mean, from there, because I don't believe anything like major. Did anything major happen before that moment? It was kind of like all set up, right?
I mean, Grogu showed up to the.
Oh yeah, okay. There's something we could talk about. So
In the
obviously,
X-Wing.
Grogu chooses the chainmail, the shirt, and we, as a surprise, we do see an X-wing flying into Mos Eisley, and it's R2 flying the ship. Grogu's in the cockpit, sitting in Luke Skywalker's X-wing, looking adorable as always. And again, I'm never gonna remember her name, but Amy Sedaris' character. I want to say it's Pilo. I want to say
Pelimoto.
Pelimoto. There we go. Pelimoto.
I like her character. I don't care.
I love her character. I think she's great. She's a
too.
great addition to all of like the seriousness that happens with a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
I love her relationship with the droids. I love that moment where she goes, Grogu, that's a terrible name. I'm not calling you that. Because I feel like she's us. We're looking at this through her eyes, essentially.
Oh, she's definitely general audiences. They're like, no, that's Baby Yoda.
100%. 100%. But yeah, look, I mean, we all expected it. He chooses the chainmail. He chooses the shirt. We didn't get to see it actually go down, but I actually like the way that they did it because it was a nice surprise to be like, oh, is Luke actually going to show up? But no, it was R2 flying.
Yeah, who thought Luke maybe?
I would have been pissed
if he did show up.
Yeah,
and save the day again.
Yeah.
Well, no. I wouldn't have. Yes, I would have been mad if he came to save the day. But there was a second where I thought, oh, he might just be dropping him off. Like he might just be dropping him off.
Right.
But I like how it went down. Obviously, R2 can fly the ship. Duh, makes sense. But yeah, I mean, we all expected it, right? We all expected him to choose the shirt. No surprise.
I did, but that's what I was afraid of because last episode, Fandalorian Club, check it out. We talked about how that would negatively impact the ending of season 2 of The Mandalorian, how they spent so much time during this goodbye and how emotional it was. And Mando breaking his creed by taking off his helmet for Grogu. And then he comes back like, what, 6 months later, 7? When did Mando 2 end?
I mean, we don't. Oh, Mando 2 ended in December 2020.
Oh, so okay, so a year later.
But as far as the timeline goes, I mean, it could be a week, could be 2 months. It's more than likely in like a 2 to 6 month range, I would imagine. But you never know.
Am I overreacting, or did you guys feel the same way? Like it kind of takes away from.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
I mean, I kind of don't really care because I always figured he was going to eventually come back to him.
There was always a part of me that thought he was coming back. I just wish there would have been a little bit more time of them separated. I understand why he was in it. I get it. He didn't need to be in the Book of Boba Fett. You could have told the same exact story in Mandalorian season 3. You could have. And I understand why they're doing it because they probably have some major plans for season 3. He needed to come back. But I do wish we saw more of Din kind of struggling with the fact that he doesn't have him anymore. We only saw it for a very short period. We saw it in the forest on the planet when he was going to see Grogu. And outside of that, he was just doing kind of, bounty hunter jobs. Not that I wanted to see, I mean, obviously I would love to see more bounty hunter jobs, but I did want to see him a little bit more on his own, kind of the struggle and how he would operate after having this connection with this foundling, which clearly is a major thing in the Mandalorian culture. Like, it's an instant connection. He mentioned it in that episode. They have this loyalty factor they can't get away from.
It's like Twilight. They imprinted on each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is, Brian. You're right. Which I hate that reference, but you're right. It is.
I just think it's funny. If you think about it, they never separated in an episode.
That's what I'm saying.
Not once.
No, that's exactly
literally.
As far as the episodes go,
from the ending of
the episode where Mando showed up, Grogu wasn't in it. He was in the next episode. So for one episode, we saw Mando.
Oh, that's right. Okay, one episode. You are.
We saw Mando by himself for one episode. One episode. One.
Yeah. Literally, season finale.
And in the episode, he made Grogu a shirt. So like,
yeah, it was season finale of season 2, the one episode, and now he's back.
Hey,
like I understand bringing Grogu back. Like it obviously makes sense. He's hit the hearts of everyone in Star Wars, but it's okay for him to be gone for like 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes. Like if he comes back eventually, why does it matter, right? You know, and imagine how cool it would have been having a little bit more break of getting into Mando season 3, of having the first like maybe episode or 2, Grogu not being there, and then episode 3, his journey takes him to Grogu, and then we get that moment with Luke, Ahsoka, etc., of him returning, right? Like, I understand, but it would have made more sense, or not made more sense. It would have felt better for me if there was a little bit more of a separation between the two of them.
Well, that's why the show's not made for you.
Well, it is made for me, but there's just things that I don't like about it. You know?
Damn.
Gio, what were you gonna say?
I know though. Little does Grogu realize that he made the right choice, because if he had to live through 2 Jedi academies getting slaughtered, I mean, what does that do to Grogu? You know, and considering how long of a life he lives, you know, it's like, damn. Like,
it's just funny to me, and I'm gonna say something that is mildly blasphemous to people. Luke Skywalker just like reinforced how much of a dick he is to me. Like, I'm not.
Well, you said this last week.
I'm not a huge. I never have been a huge Luke Skywalker person. Like, I've always found him just kind of annoying, and like he just continues to be. I like old man Luke,
like Last Jedi.
Yeah, because
makes you appreciate it more. Huh?
He's just that salty old man, kind of like a grumpier Obi-Wan. But young Luke is just, he just sucks.
Well, we talked about it last week. I'm not getting into that conversation again because that'll open a whole other can of worms as far as
like. And the fact, like, when I saw that he sent Grogu back in the X-wing without him, I was just like, God, you're such a dick.
Well, we don't know the circumstance, okay?
Let's be honest. Luke was like, all right, fine.
Again, I don't want to get into it because it's gonna open up a whole other freaking thing. Anyway, so Grogu's back. We don't see him towards. Do we want to talk about his? Since we're on the topic of Grogu, do we want to talk about him in Peli showing back up in Mos Espa, and then the moments that Grogu had with the Rancor and the giant attack droid, which I thought was a very cool little addition that they did for this episode.
It was an old piece of concept art.
So actually it was, and I give credit to Alex and Molly for this because I was actually listening to them. The original concept art came from episode 1. It didn't appear. It got passed through to episode 2. It didn't appear. And now it finally made it into live action. They've just tweaked it throughout its timeline. So they went back to the well a little bit and found a place for it, which made sense because it had the shields like the droids did in the prequels.
Those prequel shields.
Yeah. So it absolutely fit for the Pikes to have that as part of their arsenal is very, very cool.
It just seemed like they have so much money and those types of things they have. No, I know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, like, that's totally believable that they would have these ginormous killing machines.
Well, it made them I don't know if you've ever seen this, Brian, but I know Gio has. But Gio, it's like the robot that RoboCop fights in RoboCop. That's what it made me feel like.
Which RoboCop?
The very first one.
Oh yeah, the giant one.
It made me feel like that was kind of like a little bit of an inspiration there.
The amount of RoboCop references you've made this week. You told me Cobb Vanth's going to become.
I told you Cobb Vanth's going to become Winter Soldier. Is what I said.
Oh, that's right. You did say that. Never mind.
But that's a conversation for about 20 minutes down the road. But no, look, I think those things are. Those droids were great foils for our characters. They obviously have protection, and it took a Rancor to take them down. It obviously Boba and Mando couldn't pierce through their shields, and they had to do everything they possibly could to get through them, but they had to dodge them at the same time. They had to protect the people. I love that Freetown did show up. There were very minimal of them, but obviously it's all you can get at this point.
Well, it's a small town. Yeah.
It is.
It's very much a rebel alliance. Make 10 feel like 1,000.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. So, but no, I thought that the droids and were great addition, and like you said, Brian, it makes sense that the Pikes would have something like that, very powerful. But then Grogu, has his little moment there towards the end, since we were talking about Grogu, where I love that moment where he like has a little fun ripping the part off the droid, and then he goes flying backwards. You muted yourself.
I love his squeals whenever he gets hit. He goes,
Yeah.
woo!
Yeah, it's like an excitement. It's like a total fun ride for him.
It reminds me of like when the droids like do stuff, like when they get
like
hit
R2 whenever he gets beat up.
Or like he's like a BB-8, right?
Yeah,
BB-8 had a little bit more of a personality with that type of stuff than R2.
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, look, I thought the fight with the droids was great. I thought it was a great addition, and it made sense to have that kind of arsenal in your back pocket instead of just having hired guns like the Pikes do. To have a little bit of a firepower. I like the addition. I thought it worked well.
Same. I mean, just seeing it when that droid decided to take on the Rancor and was using its claw-like legs to like pierce the Rancor's chest. I was like, whoa, they're nothing to play with. Man, they are serious. And I could have swore those were the same droids from the battle on Geonosis and Attack of the Clones, but I guess not, like per Star Wars Explained. I actually love that they did that, by the way. I mean, why not use some of the old concepts and what?
They do it a lot.
They do it a lot, and it's awesome.
It's, I mean, like people love nostalgia. That's what No Way Home showed us. And what better than what George helped created, and giving it the Filoni, Favreau, Rodriguez tweak, and I love it. Do more of it. So
yeah, it's very cool because and we've talked about it plenty of times, but it's that fan service where fans who know what it is will recognize it, but it doesn't take away from what they're trying to do. Like to the average watcher, like Geo, for example, to you, that was just a really sick droid that they brought to the screen. But now you're getting the information that was actually concept art that's been passed down for a number of movies. Yeah. Now finally made it to the screen, right? Like it doesn't take away from what we're watching, and they're not doing it just to do it. Like it fits, but it's also fan service to us who maybe have seen it or recognize it or have been told about it. And even for me, like I just heard about it yesterday for the first time. And that's because Alex and Molly mentioned it on their stream. Otherwise I would have had no idea that it was a former concept art that got passed over through multiple movies. But you can tell that Filoni and Favreau they're digging deep for stuff that has not worked or not been done. And they're finding ways to put it into the universe at a different timeline and make it really, really cool, which this was obviously one of them.
If I'm a old writer or artist or something, like I kind of got to be sitting there like anxious, like hoping my stuff shows up, because I mean the amount of stuff they're pulling, I mean it seems almost like anyone and everyone's got a chance with whatever has been previously suggested. I mean they're pulling Cobb Vanth is a character that's minimally in a book, and now he's like a beloved character,
and he's gonna be a total badass.
Yeah, and I mean something as small as like these dope droids that got passed up on are now like it was I got such hard Pacific Rim vibes when I was watching it.
It was great. It was great.
Like the robot versus the Rancor. So
the kaiju.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. So the Pacific Rim thing absolutely makes sense, but my instant thought was, oh, it's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Like that was my instant thought, but the Pacific Rim thing definitely makes a little bit more sense because the Rancors are a little bit more of the kaiju feel than they are like a Godzilla, obviously. So
yeah. So
did that fight live up? Did that fight live up to it for you guys? Because we knew it was coming, right? Like I think we all expected the Rancor to show back up. And when Boba flies away and he's like, "Oh, Mando, protect everybody," and he's like, "Dude, I'm one guy. Like, come on."
If I had to guess, I would have thought it was just going to be a massive army, and the Rancor would have just came like swiping through and stuff. I didn't think like giant robots would show up and like that.
I loved it. I mean, obviously Boba riding a Rancor, awesome. Also shooting people at the same time. The Rancor looked great. I didn't have a problem with the visuals at all. Still don't have a name for it, which is a little unfortunate. But I thought the fight lived up to it. They wrecked the town while trying to save the town. The town is absolutely destroyed, but I thought the fight, it's what it was supposed to be after the Rancor was introduced. And, he got some scrapes and bruises, but that Rancor did some damage, and I loved seeing it. And then the Rancor was on the loose and throws Mando like halfway across the city and crushes him into the floor. And then we get that obviously great moment with Grogu where he goes full Ezra with an animal, and he puts him to sleep, and then he takes a little nap next to it.
You cuddled.
Yeah, that was the best Grogu moment for me in the whole episode, even more than Mando and Grogu reuniting, which for myself didn't really pay off the way for the reasons we just stated. But yeah, seeing Grogu calm down the monster, it was awesome. You guys said Ezra, I didn't think of that. I thought of Professor X and Logan when he calmed down the horses and returned them all. And
I thought of the video games, like when you level up, you get the like animal control power.
Well, the only reason I said Ezra is because he was able to communicate with animals in Rebels.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of an animal connection, which is very rare in the Force, and typically a sign of the dark side, I will say. But we're gonna leave that for another day with Grogu because I don't think.
Gio, finish your thought.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh no, that was pretty much it. Just seeing Grogu still have Force abilities, which will play into Mando season 3, and again, like at least one moment with Dan Trejo, like I keep going back to that, but it's just like I'm a huge Dan Trejo fan.
I'm sure you'll see if they do a season 2, like in the palace, like I'm sure he'll be around. Like, I don't know. They've got to do some type of machete joke, like a vibro machete. Like they got
to give him one.
Yeah, something.
He picks up the darksaber and just starts.
Yeah. So Gio, you said something there while you were talking that I caught on to, and I kind of want to dive into a little bit. You said that that Grogu and Mando reuniting didn't live up to it as much as you hoped it would. So it wasn't as impactful as you were hoping?
It just, given everything that was going on, and given the time that they actually had away from each other, it was just like.
So you didn't like the little Force jump?
That was cool.
Come on,
it's okay. Adorable. Yeah, no, that was cool. Yeah, but it's just I don't know. Like it didn't feel like it paid off the way I wanted it to. But clearly it did for you, right?
I thought it
no
was
right or wrong answer. I'm just
it was a fun moment just because it was in the middle of such chaotic mess. Like he was on the back of a trolley essentially with Pelly and her droids. And they're speeding around the town being chased by a robot. It's funny though, when she first shows up, you can tell that Grogu's covered with a blanket. Like, okay, like he's covered by a blanket, but I understand why they did it. But if you go back and watch it, like Mando goes almost in like full dad mode as soon as it happens. He like puts his gun away. He's like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? Like he just, his actions totally change, and you can tell, like, obviously the dude's been missing him, and he's great. He's excited to see him. Not good to see him. Excited to see him, but his whole just demeanor kind of changed as soon as he saw him, and that was a really cool moment too, where they go flying and Grogu's kind of like squealing like he's having fun, and then he catches him before he hits the ground. That dude's like a little daredevil. I'm telling you. He's a little demon in it, and we saw at the end of the episode how devilish he can really be in the starfighter at the very end of the episode. Yeah, he was just banging, and he's like, and Manu's like, no,
come on,
no, it's like a total just the kid with the dad toying with him, and the dad gives in, and all he wants to do is go fast. That's all
He
he
just
wants
wanted to let out some zoomies.
It's for
And they
real.
wasted no time giving us that moment too, because I mean, we all thought about it when we first saw the N1 Starfighter. It's like, hey, that little bubble thing would be cool for Grogu. 2 episodes later, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get more of that in Mando season 3. So
I love that, like he's obviously banging, but each time Mando says no, the banging starts getting a little faster, and then towards the end, he's just like he's
yeah,
just
you
like
better be
banging
careful,
and
don't break that thing.
yeah,
It'll
yeah.
fly
But no,
off.
I mean that's a cool moment. But as far as like the reuniting the two of them, I liked it. I thought it worked. It was a fun moment. I actually liked seeing them kind of being chased around the city in that little speeder bike thing that they were in.
I'm just glad we didn't have to have this long, dragged out reunited, like spend 5 to 10 minutes on
Like
reuniting.
Grogu's in the city, like they're both in the city, but they don't see each other and they don't meet until later on. Like we've seen that multiple times in a lot of different shows or movies.
Yeah.
Like it happened. It like they're together again. We can move on now.
Yeah,
You know?
we got it.
I'm with you.
Anakin and Obi-Wan did it better in Attack of the Clones when they reunited in the arena. So there you go.
Sure.
Then we decided to come and rescue you.
Sure.
Good job. Okay.
Sure. Okay, so with Grogu out of the way, since we talked about him a little bit, we haven't touched on Cad Bane. Let's talk about some Cad Bane in this episode. We get him at the beginning as he and Boba officially reunite one-on-one outside of the sanctuary. They have a little conversation about, old age and surrenders and that type of stuff. Again, moments where we recognize that obviously they know each other. We get kind of callbacks and conversations about, things that they've done in the past. And we just get a familiarity, if you've never met them before, that they have known each other for a very long time. And then catching back up later on when we see Cad Bane again, Boba's on the Rancor, and Cad ends up, throwing some flames in the Rancor's face, and it throws Boba off, and we get this final battle between the two of them. Spoiler alert, it ends with what I think is the death of Cad Bane. Some may think otherwise, but we get a really cool battle between the two of them. A conversation about I'm still faster of you. I'm not a boy anymore. Final lessons. Cad Bane shoots him, and he goes flying back, and he does it in a really cool style. And then we get to see the gaffy stick one more time, going back to his Tusken ways. And ending Cad Bane. I think that the way that it probably should have ended, because of what the series had started with the Tusken Raiders and that story. And I know it was very quick because we saw Cad Bane at the end of the last episode, and then we saw him very briefly this episode. But for me, being that Cad is the one that kind of mentored him, and they have a long history together, it ended the way I think it should have between the two of them. Boba should have always killed Cad Bane. Cad Bane should have always died by the hands of Boba Fett. It's just a story that should be told because of their history. I would love to see him again, don't get me wrong, but Cad Bane's been operating for 30 years after we've seen him in the Bad Batch. There's a lot of story to tell with him where he can pop up in some capacity in some other story. But I thought it ended very well, and I thought it was a perfect choice of using the gaffy stick. So
I'm 75-25 that he's dead. Maybe more. Maybe 80-20.
okay.
The only thing that makes me unsure is the blinking light on his chest never went out, and the noise, the beeping was really loud when they zoomed out. Like, I was waiting for it to be like a flat line type thing where it was like beep, beep, and then it just kind of stopped, and it just went beep, 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 I think 3 or 4 times. So I don't know. It's honestly, the more I think about it, I'm probably more like 90-10 because it kind of almost defeats the purpose if they bring him back. It's funny though, because like when Cad Bane first showed up, my friends, I'm like back home, I'm like the encyclopedia whenever they don't know something. I was like, yeah, this guy's a bad MFer. Like he's been around.
Hyped up, Brian.
Yeah, he's been around. He's quick shooter, gunslinger, like all this stuff. And my friends texted me this morning. They're like, "Yeah, he lasted a long time." And I'm like, "Well, if you want to go back and watch all the animated stuff, then yes, he definitely lasted a long time." But yeah, his live action was quite quick. I could listen to that guy's voice all day. Honestly, that's kind of why I'm most upset if he is dead, just because I don't get to hear it anymore. But I mean, yeah, him and Boba, I think we always figured one of them would go down at the hand of the other. More than likely, Boba Fett to Cad Bane. Unless they just want to do like round 2 of maybe round 3 or 3 rounds. I don't know. I don't know. I tend to think he's dead also, but it's just a little bit of uncertainty.
I think it's the want of him to be alive, right? Like just because you want to see more of him.
I'd say want, but I was specifically, like I said, I was specifically listening, like watching and listening. The blinking never stopped. And I don't know what the hell that blinking thing is. It could literally just be like.
Well, I literally think it's like his tube hookup.
Yeah. So I mean, I just figured it was some important type thing. So I was literally watching that and listening for the blinking, and both never stopped. So I think that's just the only thing. Like my head's trying to be like, I caught that. So, I know he's not dead, but if he's dead, then it's like, okay, like if he's going to die, like that's exactly probably how I would assume he's going out. So I'm not going to be like disappointed if he doesn't.
Yeah. Gio?
You got to keep in mind, this is the same universe that brought back Palpatine, brought back Maul.
Of course.
Is going to bring back Mace Windu at some point. And
I 100% agree with you,
It's not happening. Stop it.
100% agree with you.
But I have a couple thoughts on Cad Bane. First off, I didn't even know that he mentored Boba until you mentioned just now, Jake. That adds so much more weight to their interaction.
And that line he said of consider this my final lesson.
He was essentially Django after Django died.
Yeah. I mean, Django was like, we never really saw Django in like the bounty hunter arts. Cad Bane was like the top of the top bounty hunters. And he essentially mentored Boba, which is, but yeah, Gio, continue. Sorry.
Wow. But yeah, it looked like two people who were way past their prime, like Thriller and Manila. Like, they're just, and it turned into like a Western kind of thing. Like, let's go. Come on. Who's got it? They did not bring Cad Bane into live action just for him to be in 1.25 episodes. I think he'll definitely be back, whether it's a past story. That's what I would prefer. All right. I'm tired of seeing people die and then they aren't dead. It's just it's become like ridiculous. I mean, pick a franchise, honestly. But something that Cad Bane said really sums up this version of Boba Fett that we have in this series, where something along the lines of you've gotten soft as you've gotten
soft in your old age.
Yeah. And that pretty much sums up this Boba Fett in this whole series. Like I see a lot of the complaints on film Twitter about, we want this Boba Fett, not this one, who's a shell of himself or whatnot. I hear you. I get that. And you probably have a deeper, closer connection to Boba than I do. But that pretty much what Cad Bane said sums up everything that we've seen from Boba Fett. And for myself, who doesn't have a lot of history and whatnot, it doesn't bother me as much. But like I said, I would like for him to stay dead, but probably not. Again, we're talking about the same universe that brought back Palpatine and Maul and Windu and so on and so forth. So.
You keep saying Windu, but Windu isn't back.
He's
Gonna
coming
happen,
back.
man.
No, he's not.
I will say this. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
Well, I was just gonna say that I think, and this is coming from the pure perspective of having the history with these two characters. And I think, Brian, you said it when you were talking that it needed to happen. It was kind of the necessary way for these two characters to kind of end their relationship. It had to end with one of them dying. And if they stuck to the story that they were going to tell originally, it was Boba killing Cad in a shootout. But because of the story they decided to tell with the Tusken Raiders, his history, and now bring Cad Bane into the timeline now, it completely made sense for him to be killed by the gaffy stick.
See, that's where I was just about to say I'm kind of disappointed by the gaffy stick kill.
So would you have rather seen like a gunfight?
Yeah, it's funny because. Oh wait, I don't want to say this for Rebels if Gio's watching it.
Say it.
Just it's funny because like I would have been totally fine. Like you remember when Mace Windu or not Mace Windu?
Oh my God!
You've got me all thought. My brain's tracking Mace Windu now. You know how like Obi-Wan kills Maul in like a second, like, and you're just like, oh, really? Like that's how you're gonna end their long history? Just a quick, you know?
Yeah, I saw that clip online.
Yeah,
so.
I almost would have wanted this, literally just a like quick draw, boom, that's it. Like maybe he like is dying and he walks over to him and is like, I don't know, you got what you deserve or something like that. But like, I don't know. I understand the gaffy stick thing, but like when I think of those two, I just think of gunslingers. Like
yes,
so.
I agree with you, but that was before the Tusken story, and that story had to come back around at some point, and they had to make sure we know as viewers that he's not completely letting go of his Tusken ways, right? He's still using it in his back pocket, and it's not something that he just has thrown away since they died, and that he's going back to his bounty hunting ways. He still has it as a capability in his arsenal. And to Tim's point, Boba would have died if it was a gunfight because Cad Bane was clearly better. Yeah. So I think it was if we would have seen these characters meet up before the Sarlacc pit and Boba's story with the Tusken Raiders, it would have 1000% ended in a gunfight. But because of the story with the Tuskens and his time with them and how he is now kind of part of their culture, it just made sense that the gaffy stick was the tool that he used to kill his former mentor, someone who's been a thorn in his side for a very, very long time.
Yeah, he didn't take a lizard up the nose for nothing.
That's true. That is very, very true. Oh, this is also a really, really good point. Yeah, his true strength comes from the Tusken ways, not his gunfighting ways. That is this Boba Fett, that is 1000% true. Because he's a completely different character than he was when we saw in the one in Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Right.
That's a really, really good point. Thank you, Andy. And Gio's right. I think that whenever we do see Cad Bane next, it'll probably be something in the prior timeline. In between episode 4 and 5, somewhere in there, maybe even during the original trilogy timeline. And I think Chuck said it up too. They made the costume. They're not just going to use it this one time. They're 1000% going to put him somewhere else in whatever type of story they tell.
Yeah.
And I just want to see more of him. He's such a cool character. Like, where has he been? Who else has he been up? What else has he been up to in those 30 years since we've seen him in Bad Batch? I'm sure we'll see him in Bad Batch season 2. That almost seems like a lock that we'll probably see young Boba and Cad Bane in Bad Batch season 2.
Especially since he was in season 1.
Yeah. So, but as far as live action goes, I don't think this is the last time we see him. I mean, we talked about it with someone like Fennec Shan when we saw her in Mando season 1 and Cobb Vanth. You don't get Timothy Olyphant for one episode. You don't get Ming-Na Wen for one episode, even though that was originally the plan.
Which is wild.
You utilize these characters, right? And So I do think we'll probably see him again at some point, and I want to because he's very cool. He's very cool.
Yeah.
Didn't he just appear about the old bounty hunters?
Well, they should make a show called The Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Literally, Tales of the Bounty Hunters.
More of the bounty hunters on
Cad Bane, all those characters. Right? Let's get him in a show. I think it'd be great. Okay, have we missed anything major? Because there is quite a bit. We talked about the Rancor.
I know you were pissed off that Fennec got sent off again.
Yeah, so that's something that we can talk about. Fennec has kind of taken the backseat for the majority of the season. She's definitely had her moments. She's had some really, really good moments. But she still
Tim, sorry.
I'm gonna get to Tim's comment after because we're gonna talk about Cobb Vanth to finish this off.
I understood that reference.
It's but she has gotten the short end of the stick for the majority of this, and she just like disappears, and for good reason. In this episode, she left to go to Mos Eisley. We know that Mos Eisley is a long ways away, so she had to travel. You know, travel time is thick in the sand. We get it. She was going to make some assassination kills in Mos Eisley. I understand that. But we didn't really see her in like a major fighting moment outside of the very first episode on the rooftops.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, like she was walking around, she did some sniping, but she did some sniping off screen in this episode, and then she jumped down from a building, and that was pretty much all we saw of her. Like, we're going to be seeing more of her. She's going to be with Boba, and it seems like they're going to be doing a second episode by the way that it ended. But at the same time, you have someone like Ming-Na Wen who is so talented and is so like excited and happy to be a part of Star Wars and in this specific character. You got to find ways to use her. And for her to only really have one major moment in the first episode in a 7-episode season is a big bummer when she is arguably the second lead of the show for the first 4 episodes, right? Like she took a back seat once Mando arrived, you know, and all these other characters, but
she had more lines than Boba.
You're right. Like she did a lot of talking and not a lot of action, and Boba introduced her as Master Assassin. Now, granted, she got her incredible assassination attempt in the episode.
Yeah.
Which was
the
awesome.
Mayor kill was
brutal.
Arguably one of the grimiest, like, brutal kills I think I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Like, where was that in this series?
And the fact that his body was just hanging there and they just showed it swaying, like, I was like, oh, damn. Like, that is some dark stuff for Star Wars.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I was just pissed though because it's an Ithorian and I love me some Ithorians, but
that dude needed to die, man.
You knew it was coming. I just didn't expect him to get hung by his hammerhead and just like swing in there. It was brutal. She did not hold back, but that's the type of stuff we wanted, though. So
she got her moment in the final episode. I'm a little bummed that it took 7 episodes to really see her skills like fully played out. Because we saw, and we didn't even really get like, okay, she got a lot of cool action in Mando season 2 finale, but outside of that, it's just kind of been like shooting her sniper here and there. She got her assassination attempt. We get that. I just hope that in season 2 or whenever we see her next, that she does get more to do. You got to utilize Ming-Na Wen, man, because she's great. She's great.
She's definitely loving what she's doing too.
Yeah, she's
like constantly talking about it on Twitter.
I was gonna say, on Twitter, she's blowing it up every Wednesday when the show comes out. She's retweeting and tweeting and everything. She loves being a part of this.
Really?
Give her the chance to really, truly be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, Jake. I mean, another example was when Chrysanthemum was trying to kill Boba, and like the biker gang had more action than Fennec, who was just showed up very late, and at least on the way to killing those people or whoever they are, you know, like show a chase sequence of her like having to gun down some other speeders or something, you know, like something. She largely disappeared, and at one point I remember saying like, "Where the hell is Fennec?"
Andy, that's a great reference, and I understood that reference. Thank you, Andy. She's called the Cavalry in Agents of Shield. That's why.
Oh yeah,
They call her the Cavalry.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh. There you go. But yeah, to your point, Jake, we're gonna see more of her. If there is a Boba Fett season 2, which I mean, we'll see. If Filoni and Favreau if they really want to do it, they'll get their way, because you're not gonna say no to them, regardless of however you feel about this series. Or she shows up in Mando season 3, we will get more of her. Let's give her more of what we saw at the very end, which, by the way, was a weird way to end that sequence where she's just running up the stairs and then cut. Okay.
So that's something that I did want to bring up, but before I do, let's talk about Cobb Vanthus real quick, because he, as we saw in the post-credit scene, the mid-credit scene,
and they made it sound like his ass was dead.
Yeah, well, and that's
throughout the episode.
Yeah, so the bartender from Freetown said, "Oh yeah, he was shot down in cold blood." Obviously leading Din to believe that he's dead, but we see in the post-credit scene, and I think that was for us viewers. They said that because they want us to believe that he was actually dead. But we see that he's in the bacta tank, and he's about to be modded up. And we don't know where or what. Obviously, if you look back at the Cad Bane shot, it looked like he was shot in the shoulder. Excuse me.
You're trying to say something else.
Yes.
You got the
which leads me to believe that he's going to be made into the Winter Soldier, essentially, of Star Wars, and get some mods on his arm, maybe a brand new arm altogether.
Some armor.
Yeah. And remember, Fennec Shan is also a mod. She has a whole new stomach that's pumped with metal. So it seems like Cobb's going to be getting some modifications himself. We don't know what yet, but he's going to be back. Clearly, that's an indication that he'll be back in some capacity. Maybe it's in the Boba Fett season 2. I don't see him fitting into Mandalorian season 3. I think his time with Din is probably up at this point. And he has a little bit of a debt to pay to Boba for saving Tatooine, I guess you could say. And even killing Cad, right? Because Cad shot him. But I'm very excited that they kept him alive, that they're going to be giving him a mod, because that now is kind of like his armor in a way, right? Like he's going to be able to
use his
utilize
own armor.
I don't think he's going to, though.
See, now I think he will, because of the fact that Cobb Vanth said you should have kept that armor, and now he doesn't
Cad
have
Bane
it.
that, not Cobb Vanth.
What did I say? Cobb Vanth?
Cobb Vanth.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
we've been doing that for 2 weeks.
We have. Because Cad Bane said you should have kept the armor, so now I feel like Boba's going to be like, you need armor. And if that's the case, don't get me wrong. I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see. I'm guessing Gio's watching the post-credit scene right now.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I didn't even know there was one.
Oh
no!
I do want him to have armor. Like, I think he was obviously at his best when he had the armor.
To be fair, Gio, I only saw someone say it on Twitter, and I went, "Oh shit," and went back to it.
You just couldn't wait to exit the series and back out.
I need to learn that if the thing that says like next episode or something doesn't pop up, there's probably something you should just keep watching.
Yeah.
So I would love to see him get armor, but I think that because Boba has let go of the Mandalorian ways, one, there's not going to be a way for him to get any armor, and two, like Andy said, I think his modifications are going to be a form of his armor, his ability to protect himself.
That's fair.
No,
I just want to see him with the Mandalorian mask again.
I agree. I thought it looked great with the red like turtleneck thing underneath. It looked awesome. But it's going to be interesting to see what kind of modifications he does get. Because they're obviously going to be using him in the future. They're planting the character for a lot more. So,
what if they like? Oh, keep talking.
Gio, go ahead. Your thoughts on that, since you
I just remember that Boba said the back of the tank's being used, and that should have been my first indication that he's in there. So,
the first indication might have been Chrysanthemum, because he told Chrysanthemum, "Oh, it's your turn in the back to tank." But at the end of the episode, you see Chrysanthemum with Boba. so he
Right.
wasn't in the back to tank. And so then
Mhm.
you can, if you think hard enough, you could be like, oh, maybe it's Cobb Vanth. So
Right.
Did anyone else? Well, what do I want to say first? What if he becomes like kind of like Valance from the comics?
that was my first thought, which is why I said the Winter Soldier thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying like with the side face like type thing.
Well, yeah, but I think if we go back to the episode, his face isn't shot up.
No, I know, but still.
That was my first thought. But that would my first thought was like, oh, I don't want that character to be taken away from being turned into live action though, because that character is bad.
Well, yeah, he's canon, so like he has to be a thing.
Yeah, he's like a badass bounty hunter.
Yeah, I will say I think the one thing I was disappointed throughout this series that I didn't get Bosk. I just thought it was so obvious, like that they would grab Bosk. But
I'm sure that they're saving him for
season 2.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. It definitely makes sense that maybe he shows up in season 2. I think they're saving him because throwing him and Cad Bane and Chrysanthemum in one season might be a lot if they do have plans for the future. There we go. Here's our chance at getting another big bounty hunter in season 2. Like I'd be down for that.
Did anyone else think Chrysanthemum was going to bite the bullet?
No, not once.
No, it was
he can't die at the hands of
Trent
Trandoshans. He's got to murder those fools. Rip some arms off.
It's pretty funny seeing him get piled, like everyone's jumping on Chrysanthemum and he's just struggling. I'm like, come on, man.
I know. I was like, don't you dare kill him like this quickly. But just because the amount of like time, that guy got shot like at least 80 times.
Yeah.
And then he was just getting like just piled.
I love that movie did where he threw the one Trandoshan off of him or the one pike and then shot him in the air at the same time. Yeah. That was so dope.
I need to see as much as possible of his spike fists, the power fists, because they're just so dope.
Yeah, when he tried to break through the shield with the power fist.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Zombies.
That was great.
It was dope.
Okay, so last thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up here is kind of like the creator aspect of all this. We obviously know that Filoni and Favreau are in it for the long haul. They're kind of the ones backing Star Wars television at the moment. But I want to direct the conversation a little bit more towards Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez has a very, very, very specific style of filmmaking, and he's very good at what he does. But I wanted to ask the question of whether or not it fits how Star Wars is supposed to be told, because Star Wars is a specific mold. It is a specific mold, and Rodriguez can bring a lot of cool things to the table when it comes to filmmaking. But after seeing the Book of Boba Fett, and he was the executive producer, he was heavily involved with both Filoni and Favreau. He directed 3 episodes. And I'm just saying this just for the purpose of knowing in the conversation, but a lot of people have been saying that his 3 episodes were the weakest, and this one specifically was the weakest Rotten Tomatoes score out of all 7 episodes. It sits at a rotten 46 or 47%. Yeah. I'm just saying that for the logistics of the conversation. But I want to ask if we want someone new to step in for a possible season 2, or if Robert Rodriguez just doesn't fit Star Wars. Do we want to see him continue on? Gio, why don't you start us off?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but he did direct the episode where Boba and the Tuskens did a heist on the train, right?
Yes, I believe so.
See, I don't know if I agree that episode is poor, because
he can direct the hell out of an action sequence. I'll give him that.
So is there a place for Robert Rodriguez in Star Wars going forward? I think there is. I don't know if he is the showrunner going forward of a whole series, but having him produce and maybe direct a couple episodes here and there, I would still be for it. Sadly, I think with the
okay, so he didn't do episode 2. I apologize. It
was Steph Green.
Steph Green.
Oh, it was Steph Green. Okay, never mind. Okay, well, yeah. He's not a bad director. I don't see him show running a whole series. Maybe he'll guest direct an episode going forward here and there, an episode that more fits his style. But I think the people at Lucasfilm, they're looking at the fan reception and all that, and they're gonna They're gonna do a little bit of a correction for season 2. I think they're gonna get somebody else to come in. I would love
Oh,
a
here we go.
Tarantino.
Oh,
my
I thought you were
God.
gonna say Zack Snyder.
Nah, he's got something else going on in Netflix. But man, a Tarantino would be so epic.
So I have.
But that's like, yeah.
Sorry, Gio. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Um,
I'm just
I think. So there isn't really an episode that I like hated during the season. There isn't. There's some weaker ones. Yes, I don't know the specific Rodriguez ones off the top of my head, but I think Rodriguez is a great director. He's a great creator. He's a great filmmaker. For all of his movies, he does a lot. He edits them. He does the directing. He produces. Like, he does a lot of things for his projects. I think what happened here is that, because I see a lot of people saying in the chat, I've seen it online, is that his episode was the best when it came to Mando season 2, when Boba Fett appeared and we got Grogu, on top of the hill, with all that stuff and the stormtroopers and everything like that. When it comes to him being involved as creating Star Wars, when you have 3 giants like Rodriguez, Filoni, and Favreau trying to come up with ideas for this character and all of these other characters, I think it might have clashed a little bit where Rodriguez is trying to put his flair on an entire season, but Filoni and Favreau are trying to write something that fits the overall tone and theme of what they're going for Star Wars television. I don't know if I want him to come back to showrun / produce / write, but I am absolutely on board for him to step in and direct an episode like they do for the episodes of Mandalorian, or like they did for Bryce Dallas Howard of this Book of Boba Fett, right?
give her
Tony Favreau, they're writing, they're producing, but they're having directors come in and direct the episodes. I think it would be absolutely okay if someone writes and produces the series, but they have Rodriguez come in and direct an episode. I'm okay with that. But then he can kind of put his flair on some things in small, minor moments, but still fit what they're going for with the season without him doing the creative aspect of the entire season. I'm not going to say no to him coming back at all, because he's very talented. He is very, very talented. There's a reason why a lot of his movies are very successful, and a lot of his movies are looked forward to by a very, very wide variety of people. But maybe just show running / executive producing / writing Star Wars isn't for him because he's so specific. But I would love to see him back directing. Obviously Boba Fett is a particularly favorable character of his, so I would absolutely be okay with him coming back and doing something Boba Fett. I have no problem with it.
I kind of almost disagree on the fact of that not everyone can do Star Wars, because I think anyone can do Star Wars. I think it just depends on the people that are watching it and if that's the type of style they like. Clearly now more than ever, people have opinions of what they like and don't like. Not everyone loved certain movies. I come from the minority. I'm only now kind of slightly starting to appreciate Return of the Jedi. That's just me. But like, some of my best friends that's their favorite movie. So it's like, okay, like I don't have a problem with different things. Like some people tell a Star Wars story different. I may love the way Bryce Dallas Howard is telling a story, and then Robert Rodriguez might be telling a different story. It might not be my favorite, but it might be Gio's favorite. Like, who am I to say that that's not Star Wars?
All subjective.
Yeah. So, and at the end of the day, did I enjoy the series? Yeah, it was fun. I didn't mind it. Like, why am I going to hate on Star Wars? I'm getting Star Wars. That's that's what I want, is just more stories. So, I mean, is he my style? Not really. Did I watch every episode? Yeah. Did I enjoy the story in the end? Yeah. Would I want more of him? Sure, give him an episode. Do I want a whole series? No, but I'm going to watch it still if he does. So I'm just kind of in the mindset of like, let people tell their stories. I mean, at the end of the day, Filoni and Favreau are the ones that are pulling the strings. So, I mean, the stories are coming from them. It's not like Robert Rodriguez thought of this whole entire story by himself. Like, so I mean, people have different styles. They have different taste in their Star Wars, and you're not going to like it 100% of the time.
Agreed.
That's with most things. So if he does more, great, cool. Am I going to watch it? Absolutely. I'm not going to ever watch something by someone, not watch a Star Wars movie or episode because someone I don't care for is
Or
directing
hate
it.
watch it.
Yeah, like I'm going to watch it because I want to see it. Star Wars.
Yeah, you're not going to go in pissed off because you know that Robert Rodriguez is directing it. Like,
yeah, like I'm still going to watch it at the end of the day.
Will do that.
There are those people out there. Like,
absolutely,
crazy.
and that sucks for them because they're not giving something a chance. I mean, it's just to go in there with an open mind, and it might surprise you in the end. You might end up liking it. So who knows? I have a feeling they're going to kind of like what Gio said is just play around more with the like episodes. I mean, if you strike gold on like 3 of 3 on your episodes, you're probably going to get a better chance at having your own showrunner type thing. If you do like 1 in 1, we'll probably still keep giving you more episodes, seeing what you do. I like the mix directors right now. I mean,
me too.
Look at how it worked for Deborah Chow. She's now directing the
Obi-Wan
most anticipated Star Wars thing in God knows how
I
long.
think most anticipated probably since The Force Awakens.
Yeah. I mean, I would maybe even go the prequels, just the way like people are freaking out over it. And where did she come from? Not anywhere huge.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah. So, I mean, you never know. You got to give people a try. You might find something new. I sure as hell didn't expect to like all Bryce Dallas Howard's episodes. I was expecting to be like, yeah, they're good, but she's made some of the best ones in that. So it's like, yeah, we'll see. You never know.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Maybe.
That's why I said it.
Yeah.
James Mangold.
Don't give me. Oh man. Okay.
He is working with Lucasfilm right now.
Would you want him to go straight into a movie or a TV series?
I would want him to do a movie, personally.
I think he could make a nasty TV show.
I think he could too, but if Filoni and Favreau are going to be kind of overseeing all of it, I'd rather see him do creative control over a movie, because he would still have to make sure that he fits in the build of what Filoni and Favreau want. I
mean, I would not hesitate to see like I know you're going to roll your eyes, Jake, but like a Snyder cut type thing where it's just like 6 little like in one long or something.
I want to see him do my pod racing movie. That's what I want. That's what I want.
That if he got his hands on pod racers,
James Mangold, call me. I got you a script, bro.
Yeah,
I got you one.
Man.
That to this day, I still don't understand how we haven't gotten more pod racers.
It's coming.
I hope.
Insider Gio Ramos over here, everybody. Hashtag scoops.
Yeah,
scoops.
Gio's promising pod racers and Mace Windu.
And the aircraft.
All right. So we're gonna wrap this up. I just want to ask you guys a simple, or actually, I guess it's a question, but it's a 2-parter here. Your quick overall thoughts to the season, and if you would like to see a season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. Gio, why don't you start us off, man?
Well, having limited Star Wars knowledge, backstory, I mean, for Christ's sake, I just found out that Cad Bane mentored Boba Fett. This was not as much of a disappointment to myself as what I'm seeing on film Twitter. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't. It was very roller coastery, up and down, up and down, up and down. What I would like to see is a more focused story on Boba Fett. I mean, that's kind of what
Agreed.
a lot of people are saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me too much because it's a universe and all these characters exist during the same time and they all kind of have each other's backs or whatnot. But give me more of Boba Fett and a story that actually pays off, because I think about when he's the what's the word I'm sorry that they say the D word
Daimyo.
daimyo. He was the daimyo for like one day and he's like, this ain't us. It's like, well, that's what you've been trying to do the whole time. So maybe a better story, more condensed, focused, and definitely more Fennec. So
And Brian?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I mean, I kind of the same rant that I just went on. I mean, I'm not going to complain about more Star Wars. It was fun. Is it my favorite series so far? No. Do I hate it? No. It was great. I mean, good story. Love the story. Got to see some characters that I never thought I'd see in live action.
Fact.
That I was very excited. I got, if this is the end of Cad Bane, hey, I got to see him in live action. Like, I'm stoked off that. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was cool. Again, makes me excited looking forward at what things could come. I mean, there's so much more. I truly do believe that they're going to find a replacement show for that Rangers one.
I think they might be taking their time with it, but I agree with you.
I think
make it a pod racer series.
Yeah. The more they look at it, I think they're going to find something to put into that, like bounty hunters or patrol of Cobb Vanth, something. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm not gonna complain. It's more Star Wars, and that's something I'm never gonna be like, So, unless they're Rise of Skywalker type movies. But
real quick before I get to my thoughts, because everyone's talking pod racers, I'm gonna post this in the chat. This is the link to our Padawan podcast where we talked about the pod racer stuff.
Oh my god, this guy's just trying to hype up his own stories.
So if you want to hear my pitch, we pitched our own shows. If you want to hear my pitch, there's my pitch for a pod racer series. But no, look, I think the Book of Boba Fett, you know, it was not perfect. It had peaks, it had valleys. But I think it set out to tell a specific story, and I think it told that story as well as it could. And I was very happy with a lot of moments in this season. Like Brian said, we saw characters that I don't think we ever expected to see. Black Chrysanthemum and Cad Bane are in live action. Like, it's pretty incredible what this show is able to do when it comes to Star Wars. We're able to see a lot of pieces of the Star Wars galaxy come together because of this show. And if we are lucky enough to get a season 2, you know, you can only go up from here. I think I agree with both these guys that it needs to be a much more centered story on Boba. If it's not on Tatooine, then I would love to see him and Fennec maybe jump around the galaxy and do different jobs or help other people and kind of follow them around and see what their next chapter is, because it is called the Book of Boba Fett. And it leaves me very excited for the future of Star Wars television, because there's a lot of things that can happen with all of these characters, not just Boba and Fennec and Mando and Grogu, but where do we see Black Chrysanthemum next? You know, where do we see all these other, like, do we see Cad Bane in a show that's a little bit earlier in the timeline? There's a lot of possibilities with these characters, and it's a lot of fun. I would like to see a sequel show, season 2 of it, but if that doesn't happen, I'm excited to see them next, because their story is definitely not over. It did not.
If you had to put $100 down, what would you put? Yes or no for
on a season 2? Mm-hmm. I think yes.
I do so.
I don't. It didn't feel like a conclusion, and I think that whatever happens next is going to be a little bit more of a focused story, because you don't need to bring the Ahsokas in. You don't need to bring the Mandalorian in, right? You can now focus on Boba and Fennec and what these characters are up to. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also now excited to kind of get to the stuff that is very new and different from what we're getting, because the next two shows that we're getting, live action shows anyway, are going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor. Two very, very new
Going back in time.
stories. Yeah, we're a completely different time period. They're not connected to the Mandoverse. They're going to be set in their own ways, and it's going to leave for some very, very exciting conversations. We don't have to talk about, connections to other characters in this timeline and what they're setting up. It's going to be about that show and that show only, which I'm very excited about. So,
can I tell you one funny thing that I picked up on at the end that I didn't pick up this whole entire season until literally the credits?
Yeah.
I did not realize that his theme song is going Fett.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't.
And then it's literally going bo 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 like. Oh,
wow!
Someone just honked the horn. Yeah, I when it went, I went. Is it saying Fett the whole time? Like, how did I not pick up on this until now? But yeah, that made me laugh. It made me feel very dumb. Also,
no, I agree. I agree. It was pretty funny to hear, but it's a cool theme song. It works. It works for the character and the theme that they have for the character. So
yeah, Chuck.
All right, everybody. Well, that is going to wrap up the Fandalorian Club for the Book of Boba Fett edition. We will be back at the moment for Obi-Wan Kenobi on May 25th. The return of Ewan McGregor in Star Wars with Hayden Christensen joining him. We will be geeking the F out, and we will be back in a few months talking everything Star Wars. I'm sure we'll be covering news. And
Jake, maybe we'll have to do a little Fandalorian from Celebration.
We might have to, because we will be there.
There you go.
And yeah, so we'll be talking Star Wars on the main show, Apocalypse Now, every Tuesday, 7:00 Pacific, right here on the channel. News. I obviously would love to get Jacob and Keith's thought on the series as well, because they haven't been able to talk about it at all. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you bookmark that. Hit that bell so you know when we go live every single time we hit that live button. And of course, subscribe, because we would love the support. We're fun. We are fun, guys. As we may not look like it, but we are fun people. So come join us, hang out here on Apocalypse Movies. That is Brian. That is Gio. I am Jake. We are the Fandalorian Club. Thank you so much for joining us throughout this entire season. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you guys next Tuesday. Bye, guys.